This podcast provides a platform that will share many different points of views that should empower you, uplift you, make you want to go out and do right. When you hear the term still a man, say, yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Let's go.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. If you're just tuning in, you are watching the Still a Man podcast. Tonight, we are discussing probate court and child support. So when we left off, Sean was about to share with us. So we're going to let Sean pick up where we left off before the break. Sean, you ready?
I'm ready. If you can give me, what was I talking about? I'm sorry.
So again, we was talking about visitation, upon being adjudicated and doing the whole child support situation. Was you automatically given rights for visitation, or was it something that you have to apply for?
Yes, in each of my cases, I had joint custody.
Mm-hmm.
So although the mothers were awarded, they were the custodial parent, I had all of my children every weekend. So that I had no issues there. So I've never, like I said, I don't have anything negative to say about probate court because if I had any issues with them, it fell on something that I lack doing. So therefore, my visitations, I've always had it. Like all my kids, I was always able to get them every weekend. So again, I didn't have any issues there. So that's just pretty much my story on that. Like I was awarded, like I said, we went in, we got joint custody. They were considered the custodial parent, and although I had them every weekend, I could go and see any of my kids at any given time because I had that kind of relationship with, the mothers of my children. So,
and this is good to know because this is a successful situation. When you hear all the horror stories, it is good to learn that the probate court and child support does work. So again, it almost sounds like it depends on the individuals.
Yeah.
Their relationship going in ahead of time.
Yep.
Yeah, some people deserve to be on child support.
Oh yeah.
So,
and like I said, I me personally, at the time that I was, because I became a father at 18. So although I thought I was mature and grown, I wasn't responsible. And I knew that's why I said that from early on, probate, child support, whatever you want to, how we classify it worked for me because I know that at the time in my life that if I had in a situation to where me and my children's mother would have agreed to something, then somewhere down the line, she would have been getting a call from me, be like, hey, I don't have it this week. Can I double up next week? And then that would have been an ongoing pattern like that.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's why I said it worked for me because it kept that type of, I'll just keep it 100. It kept that level of responsibility out of my hand.
I personally think that system shouldn't be the way it is, and it needs to change because I haven't had a good experience with it, so I don't think it works. You know what I mean? I think that it should be a joint account where if you needed assistance for your child, then both of y'all should be putting something in. I'm putting in 150, you're putting in 150. That makes sense because it's all going towards the kid, especially if you needed assistance. It shouldn't be like one-sided, it's lopsided.
So let me say this to you guys again, right? If you do have such a situation and they do revamp the whole process, what they consider as best practice, right? So they're not supposed to do it on a person-to-person basis. It's supposed to be uniform, what's good for everybody. But again, it's like what I said before. If you don't have a plan, you'll be subjected to the next man's plan. So and it's the same in dealing with child support in probate court. If you and the mother does not have a healthy relationship going into this, if you fail to communicate, because communication is the key, then someone else will make decisions for you. So again, we were talking about visitation. So Sean was saying that he was given it, you know, so it worked in his situation. Okay, so let me share with you guys. So when my first daughter, my daughter was planned. So me and the mother was in a relationship at the time, and we went into it thinking like, okay, we're gonna make sure that you have equal rights. Although we weren't married, she wanted to make sure that I had all the rights that she had. And of course, I was in agreement with that. So I went through the whole adjudication process. I received visitation without any issues because there was no opposition. We was in a relationship. Now, fast forward to a year and a half later, I learned that she was pregnant with my second daughter. And it was a whole different situation. She was bitter because of the breakup. So nothing I said mattered. Nothing I did mattered. She wanted to punish me. So she was going to use the court system as her weapon. And unfortunately, the individuals at this courthouse that will remain nameless, they were ready and willing to participate, be her weapon of choice. They was quite eager. So needless to say, this time, I was dragged through the mud. I was treated like a criminal upon coming in there. They sent me court papers to come to court. And when I got there was no assistance being given to me. It didn't matter what I said, what I displayed. I went in there, I was humble, I was respectful to everybody in attendance, but still, I was considered to be a villain. I was a monster upon entering the court system. So I don't know if they had an issue because the first time when I was there, me and the mother was on the same page. And to be honest with you guys, now that I remember as I'm talking about it, one of the court officers cautioned my daughter's mother about giving me all these rights because she felt like it was giving me too much power, too much authority. So now hindsight is 2020. So when we come back 2 years later after my second daughter's born, it's a big issue. It's a question about paternity, visitation, child support. None of these things that was an issue beforehand. So the only thing that changed was our status, our relationship status. I never disrespected this woman. I never neglected my children. I never mistreated my children. But out of the blue, anything that she could say or do to prevent me from having a relationship with my children, that's what she did. She said it, she believed it, so because she believed it, it was so. And everybody that she told this or that happened, they believed it because it was coming from her. So again, like Robert said earlier, there was times where, you know, those people had me in tears walking out of there because it was like, I love my children. And to give up on this battle, again, like I said earlier, is to give up on them. But no one cared. So then it became a question about my my disability. So I'm legally blind. No one wanted to assist with the paperwork. Now, although there's a such thing called reasonable accommodations. They didn't want to provide me none of this because they had a formed opinion about me. So
it's not just you, that's every man they got a formed opinion about.
So I became the villain. Like I was a troublemaker because I was asking for things that they felt like I should have just been happy with receiving what I had. They felt like there was no need for me to have joint custody, which made no sense. I had joint custody of my first daughter, and it's by the same woman. So why would I not want joint custody of my second daughter by the same woman? It was just crazy. So for me, you can't make sense out of nonsense. And I would say that to these individuals, and it didn't make them happy. You know, so again, they turned up the fire on me. It was as if they was trying to get me to go away, but I didn't. These people had me in and out of court like every 2 months.
Yeah.
They even took away my visitation for a period. So in result, my daughter went to school and she couldn't focus. She couldn't concentrate because she couldn't see her dad.
Right.
So
right.
She wrote a paper on it, and I still have the paper hanging on my wall next to all my degrees and licenses, because it's like, okay, that was an accomplishment in itself. It took my daughter to be the voice of reason. It took some other lady outside the court system, inside the school system, to say, hey, she confronted my children's mother. She told him, I don't know what's going on, what your issue is, but he has a great relationship with his daughters, and it's affecting her in school. So she told her she needed to get me back into court and have them give me back all my rights so I can see my children. See, so that lady
did that for you, you wouldn't be here sitting here talking about how you spent the time with your kids if it wasn't for that teacher. Sometimes
yes,
that happens when somebody outside has to come in and verify what type of person you are.
So if you guys see my shirt, it says hurt people, hurt people. Shameless plug, but you guys can get this shirt. If you log on to emporiumplus.org, you can get shirts like this and others. So check it out. And again, like I told you guys before, right now for Black History Month, there's only a few days left to the month. You guys get 10% off of every order. You should check us out and take advantage of that. But back to what I was saying, you know, thank God and that lady that he used that woman to intercede, and you know, she spoke up, and she was able to you know, appeal to Dawn to what she wanted, what needed to be done, I should say. So again,
she was a character witness.
She didn't. It never made it to court. It never made it to court. Whereas the lady had to come forth and speak on my behalf, but she threatened to do so. So again, it took somebody outside the situation. It took somebody outside the situation to come in and rectify the situation when the courts wouldn't do so. But it didn't stop there. I mean, it went from one extreme to the next. I got my visitation back. Then there was a question about the pickup spots and stuff like that. So I was traveling 2 or 3 hours to get my children, like taking a train to go to Fitchburg on Friday night at 6 o'clock. Last train coming back to Boston was 9 o'clock, well, 7 o'clock. And we didn't get back to Boston until like almost 9 o'clock. Now, you get here, you got a weekend visit. Now you try to put everything into on Saturday. You try to do everything you want to do with your children because you want the visit to be a fun visit. And then you're back on the train Sunday morning, train smoking. You know, so it's really not a lot of time. So you have to do a lot with the little time that you're allotted. But I did so. I mean, these people had me traveling across, you know, the highway in the middle of the night, you know, and no one cared about my vision problem. So not because they was being trifling, they was not only putting me in danger, they was putting my children in danger. And they were supposed to be there to protect my children. So they was trying to create a situation where, again, if something bad would have happened while my children were with me, that would have been their reason stop lives, my life or my daughter's lives, crossing that highway. So unfortunately,
do you think that the system, when it was created, it was not created with that in mind? People with disabilities, people who might be legally blind.
I think that people are flawed, so we got to remember that. So these individuals in the court systems, the court officers, they're human. So they have bad days, they have bad situations. You know, maybe something happened in their life that makes them behave that way. So now they got it in for men. Or maybe you look like somebody that did something wrong to them. Or maybe the judge has an issue with you because he doesn't have a great relationship with his son. Or maybe somebody of my color or of my gender did something wrong to a family member of his. You know, it didn't have to be me. It could have been a totally other individual, but because I'm in a position of authority, I can't punish them, but I could punish you. So I'm going to make an example out of somebody. Again, hurt people hurt people. You have to identify where the hurt is coming from in order to deal with it. And that's what happens. I mean, I don't think it's a situation where the court system as a whole is flawed. I think it's the people that's in it, because people have ulterior motives, you know, they have hidden agendas that's only known to them. So again, unfortunately, some of us are subjected to it. And again, the ones that make it bad for the ones that want to be a part of their lives, unfortunately, those individuals don't get treated the same way for one or two reasons, because they never stepped foot into the courthouse. More so, the women that are angry at those men, they don't take those dudes to court because they know those dudes don't care enough about them, the situation, let alone their children, to fight for them. So I think that's part of the problem. So to answer your question, Josie, yes, the system is flawed, but it's due to the individuals that make decisions about you and your community that do not reside in your community, so they don't have the same issues as those that live in your community. There are environmental factors, economical factors that play into people's navigation of the court system. To be honest with you, some people are just fearful, and then others, they just don't care enough about the situation to show up and be accounted for. So somebody else, you want to talk about your experiences when trying to petition the court for visitation, because we covered adjudication, we covered paternity, we covered child support in a sense, and now we're talking about visitation because they all fit snugly into a bag, so they would have you think. But anybody else about visitation, please share.
Well,
do I have to pick somebody?
I had this Big Bird's in the building.
Okay.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm muted. You couldn't hear me.
Okay, Tanya. Hold on 1 second. Let's let Bird speak,
ahead,
and then
Bird.
we're gonna let you go right after Bird. Okay, Bird, you got the floor.
I heard you talking about kind of giving up on your child. I was in a situation with my daughter's mom. Went through the courts, paid my child support, got my visitation. She walked into court, told them, signed an affidavit that I was taking my daughter to buy drugs. I was taking my daughter to sell drugs. They immediately terminated my visitation. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. All based on what this woman allegated against me. To the point, I went one time to try to provide with paperwork. I was ordered to provide medical insurance through my job. He just was continuously trying to call the police on me, to the point all I could come up with is, you're really trying to put me in jail. You're lying to the police, lying to the court, to the point that I felt I had to just fall back. And I didn't see a reason to fight when, regardless of what I thought, you were still making allegations. You were angry I moved on. You were angry I had another family. You were bitter, and you wanted to do everything in your power to put me in jail, to the point that I felt me backing off, trying to fight for visitation and all of this, was only detrimental to my freedom. So it came to a point I didn't see my daughter for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Want to be more aggressive, and I think that's
I went through that same process. I went 18 months without seeing my kids. And, it was sad because I did all this, I did all the things a father is supposed to do, be there, take my daughter to school and all that. And then I go in front of the judge, and he hears what I'm saying, and he, he's making his own assumptions of me. And I'm telling him, Your Honor, I ain't that type of dude. I take care of my kids, And like my brothers, I'm in the court crying my eyes out, about this, because this is a hurtful thing that I'm going through this nonsense that I thought I would never go through, because I was a good dude that was there for my kids, And so by the time I left the court, I was pissed off, and I'm ready to say, forget the whole thing. And, I actually did. It was like, okay, I ain't gonna see my kids until she come to her senses or come to some common ground. I just won't see my kids. I'll see them eventually, because they know what I've done for them. They know Daddy was there and all that. So, eventually they gonna want to see their father, So I went away, didn't see her for 18 months. Then next thing I know, she called her, she seeing my family members, telling them that she need help and all this. But I'm right there. I'm right here. But you need help. But it's because you're bitter and you want to stick things to me. You play this game that you want to keep the kids away. So after all that, I seen her for 18 months. I said, well, I'm gonna get my daughter a phone so she can get in contact with me. Sure enough, it's on my daughter's 8th birthday. And I got her a phone and shit. And then next thing you know, she wanted me to take my kids. And I was like, hey, I'm with it. I'm with it because I have no problem. When it comes to my kids, it doesn't matter. I drop everything.
Sorry, Timmy. Can I say something? For the person in the background, please, that's having background noise with the television, could you mute that or mute yourself, please?
Yeah, but
continue, Timmy.
Yeah, but that just made me, when she called me and said that, I was like, cool. I'll take my kids anytime. There's nothing to me. You know, I dealt with kids all my life. All my life.
Right.
But you know, you guys, unfortunately, when it comes to the court systems, they don't know us. You know, so all the good that you've done before coming before them, that's unknown. And again, like I said, people are flawed.
Tanya was supposed to come in, y'all. Don't forget about
you can tell these individuals everything there is to know about you, but if they have a formed opinion about you, that's not going to change. So let's get the woman's point of view about visitation. As I promised, Tanya, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Sorry to interrupt. There's 5 minutes remaining left in the meeting.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to talk about my visitations because I have no issues with my husband, my ex-husband coming to see his children. It was him that chose not to come and spend any time and do anything for them because I have moved on. But I am going to talk about the struggle that my husband had with visitation. One daughter moved to Virginia, so we went to Virginia whenever we could to see her. But the other one that's here, whenever he wanted to see his child, it was always an issue, especially if he didn't have any money for child support. And what I really don't understand about these females that be fighting against these men that want to do for their child and want to spend time with their child and want to love their child, but if they don't have no money, they can't spend no time with them. Being a father is not all about money. It's about emotional support, love support, being there for them, being able to talk to them, being able to just spend that time. As someone who grew up without her father being in her life consistently, females need that. Children need that. And they need that desperately. And these women out here that be going against these men and taking them to court and putting them in jail for child support, knowing that if they had the money, they would get the money. Right. That's what I got to say about that.
So let me say this to everyone, because we're losing time. So I'm going to just piggyback on what Tanya says. Ladies, gentlemen, this is a real thing. It's plaguing our community. It's harming our children. It hurts them more than it hurts anybody else. So women, I implore you, have a conversation with the men in your life. These are the men that you once told that you loved them, that they was good for you and stuff like that. Why does that change? Because we have a disagreement. If we can't be together as a couple, an intimate relationship, why does that mean that it's a deal breaker? I'm not fit to raise my child now because our relationship failed. Time is free. Let these men see their children. You know, like she said, the children need their fathers and the fathers need their children. So I just implore all the women that's in attendance tonight, if you know any woman that's doing this, you know, pull your brethren aside and have a conversation with these ladies. Tell them, and I would suggest that you tell them to tune in to this podcast on YouTube. Tell them to type in "Still a Man," and they can watch this episode. And maybe it would change their opinion about things. But also, brothers, I would say this. If you know any of our peers, any of our brethren that is doing less than you know they can be doing, pull that brother aside and tell him. Share your experiences with them. You know, you experience these things for a reason because they can be helpful to others. All right. And remember, again, hurt people hurt people. We have to identify the source of the hurt. So we have to talk about these things. We can't keep these things are balled up inside.
That will share many different points of views.
Join us next week. God bless you guys.
And do right. When you hear the term still a man, say, yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Still a man. Yes, I am. Let's go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Later.